Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 9:01. We're calling the meeting to order Tuesday, April 16, 2024. All right, approval of minutes Tuesday, February 2024. Right?
Yes, we skipped one of the meetings we canceled last.
Yeah, I just noticed that this is.
March.
week. 24.
Tuesday, February 2024.
Yeah, February 20.
But approval of minutes of Tuesday, February 2024. Right? Okay, just want to make sure.
Got it.
Do I have a motion or?
I move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Discussion? No? Motion has been moved and approved. All right. Public comment. Yes.
I'm Jan Siebert Warman, P O Box 7, Cannon Beach. I just wanted to ask for your help about the trees at Forest Lawn. There's going to be a development happening there soon. And I just wanted to make sure I've reached out to Steve already. I just want to make sure with the permitting process that the trees, and this would be the right-of-way trees for you, are protected as much as possible. There are some cedars, and I'm not sure if they're right of way or on the private part of the land, but they are larger than 6 inches in diameter at breast height. And so I'd like to make sure that those trees, they're willows, are looked at by the city arborist, I would guess. Just make sure that they're protected if possible. And then there are some other trees too, that we just want to make sure that the tree plan that they have there with this development is looked at and everything is, in order to protect as many of those trees as possible. So thank you.
Thanks, Jan.
Yep.
Sherry, do we, Amber is on Zoom. Do we need to let her in? Oh, is she in? Probably. Hold the phone.
Yeah, hopefully we can protect
Oh, yeah,
many trees as possible.
sure.
Maybe even make that a one-way down there or something so that the right of way is narrower. Protect some of those trees.
Sure.
It is a one-way.
There she is.
So,
Yay.
well, continue
Amber's
to
here.
keep it a one-way.
Good morning,
What I
Amber.
mean, yeah.
Amber, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah. Okay,
Perfect.
All right, good.
Thank you for
Alright.
mentioning that.
Thanks, Sherry. All right, let's see, action items, utility. Two is the one that we have. Looks like it's a irrigation system, and let's see, Public Works Committee review. All right, so that's for the chamber. It looks, Can Beach Chamber.
I don't think it's irrigation, is it? Or did I miss?
No.
Reading the top, irrigation system and associated components.
It's a burst of pipe under the building.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it is the Can Beach Chamber.
right.
Yes.
I move to approve under staff recommendation and my own personal recommendation. Looks like everything is, they fixed it.
Yep, I read it and I would second
Something
that.
that didn't go to the sewage, so,
All right, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? Okay. Motion has been moved. Thank you, guys. All right, let's move to discussion and information items. Karen.
I just want to address Jan's concerns about the right-of-way trees and forest lawn. You have our commitment, Jan, that everything you've asked for will be done. The arborist will review any right-of-way trees. We always get a report from Jeff for that. I will say that on some willows, as in the past, he will encourage us to address those so that other more indigenous species can thrive if the willows are choking it out. So we'll leave that up to him to guide us in that regard. But I don't want to insinuate that none of those willows would be taken out. I follow his lead on what he
Yeah.
tells us. And the other great news is, you guys know that they're kind of tightening up the tree ordinance. None of the right-of-way process has changed. In fact, they're kind of using that as a model, if you will, for the private property trees, so that's a good thing. So I will just say, I don't think you have anything to worry about on the right-of-way. We don't control private property. Steve and Robert do, but they work very tightly with Trevor and I. And that is all reviewed in the planning commission session. So
Right.
it's gonna have a lot of check and balances. So I'll give you that reassurance, okay? The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is, it was brought up during coffee with the counselor yesterday that there's still a lot of community members that don't understand the water resiliency project, and they want an update so that they can kind of get versed on it again and know where we are with the process. I will own the fact that I drug my feet a bit, hoping that by the time we did the article in the paper, that it would be a good news story. That we had the easement secured with the conference center, and that just didn't happen. And it has gone on for, we've been working on this now for almost 6 years. And based on where we are with the financing and the low interest loans and the grants and things like that, I just thought, what a great story that we could do on the front page saying, look how far we have come in this project. And just have it be a really good news story for the community.
Is that or? in the-
And
Doesn't matter.
we're just not quite there
Oh, you're not- okay.
with the easement, with the conference center. And so, the media had been asking me to make a statement and do a thing. And I explained to them that we were trying to secure that and that I'd like to do the article when we had secured it. I just thought it would be a really good news story for the community. But I talked to Bruce and our city attorney, and they said, just go ahead with the article. And so I did. There were public meetings, of course, that talked about the condemnation being the next step if we couldn't get that. But some people don't listen to those meetings or can't attend those meetings. They don't go back and listen to the recordings if they see that item on the agenda. So lots of people weren't versed on why we were hung up. I think I've kept you guys in the mode, and that's my number one priority, is always making sure you guys are really engaged in every project we do, because I consider you guys our stakeholders to get that information out to the community. Lots of community members come to you guys and say, hey, you're on that committee. What's going on with these projects? So I appreciate you playing that role. So I will be putting together a presentation for the May work session to update everybody as to where we are. I'm hoping by that time that we
Great.
may have something secured. But nonetheless, we're having to move forward with the condemnation. If the conference center were to sign the agreement that they already have in their hands before the condemnation actually takes place, then we're there. And if they don't, then the condemnation takes over. So, excuse me, we are all hoping for that. And so that's where we are with that. I'll be, like I say, doing an update in the May work session. If you guys have any questions or there's things that you don't feel like I've communicated, please just ask. I mean, this is why we meet every month. I haven't kept you guys really busy because this has been our single biggest project for the last 5 years. And for us to take on too many more projects is just not doable based on our resources. And so delve as deep as you want to get into this project, because I like the questions. Many people will message me and ask me, have you looked at this? Have you considered that? I like those questions because that's what helps us squeeze out as much efficiency as we possibly can out of this project. And so it never hurts for people to ask us if we've checked various boxes just for their knowledge and comfort level to know we're doing everything as efficient as possible, but also to demonstrate to the community that we're doing that. And so those questions don't bother me. And that includes you guys. Ask anything that you haven't seen us do or you're curious about, or I haven't communicated so that you do know those things. Please ask me.
Okay, and I really would suggest anybody that has not taken the tours.
Yeah.
With Daryl and
And you'll,
Daniel to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm even to the point where I'm just gonna throw it out there that we could even maybe sort of coordinate a public tour.
Yeah.
And just have it on, once a month or once every quarter, something like that, and just, hey, sign up and conduct it. And people would be, when you see it, touch it, feel it, then you really know what's happening.
all they gotta do is ask and we will schedule time to be able to do that. I have to say the guys enjoy kind of showing off.
Oh, yeah.
There's not too many people that want to learn about sewer and water. But I always tell people it's quite interesting. I mean, it's more complex than you think it is.
Yep.
And as we improve our infrastructure, things are more mechanically and electronically
Mhm.
controlled than they were in the old days. We have the ability to assess and analyze things via a tablet and a phone, whereas we didn't have for years, which is a blessing because in a real emergency, we may not be able to get to a particular site. And if we can control things remotely, that's going to be
Very impressive, all of the, when you get into the control systems and all that, remember, we really, it's very good. And Daniel is a walking water
He's a
visionary.
knowledge.
Really is. He's great.
Lots of people didn't realize that our water is on a gravity system. So we went on the boil water alert when we had the break on the north end. A lot of people had no idea how the water system works. So even though we talk about these things in the council meetings, when we take projects forward, there's a certain level of that that's boring to people. They tune out, they're texting with people. They miss a lot of the information that kind of explains to people how things work. Even our slides that we put up during this 5 years of coming to council, we must have been to council at least a dozen times in the course of this project. But we put the slides up to show the exact path of which we're replacing all the pipes. Where do they go from the springs to the plant, back up to the tank, and then out to the community? Lots of people have no visual understanding of that till they see a slide that shows them that path. And then to say, well, you could build the tank anywhere. It doesn't have to be in that location. It works off of gravity. And so
Right, gravity and the three springs feed it. And then what's amazing is we only have to add a little bit of chlorine every 5 years.
we are so fortunate.
Incredible. So people should know that, dude. We have great water.
Article that the reporters did for us out of the Gazette was to convey to the community how lucky we were that we have
Yes.
clean water we do. And if you recall, when Tessa was here, she was very involved in the whole legislative body, if you will, in Michigan associated with the bad water. And so she had a real passion for drinking water and its cleanliness and its care in different communities. And she was just amazed at what we have
Blessed.
compared to the other states and areas that she had seen in the course of doing her volunteer work. Every year, she would go back to Michigan to participate in this effort. And so she was amazed and said, I don't think a lot of people realize, how lucky we are. So we did the article and for whatever reason, it still didn't really translate with folks. So I've been trying to find ways, more interesting, fun ways to talk about, poop and water.
Well, and then hair, it's the only thing we have to burn. We can't trash the hair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm open for suggestions and
I think that's a good idea, provide a quarterly, just put it on the schedule, it's like sign up if you want to do this and then just have it out there and.
Yeah,
start
4
letting
times a year.
people know.
Be excellent.
we might consider this. I'll throw it out and you guys tell me what you think. We have the Public Works Week coming up in May. And instead of just doing the same old, thing, I thought we do the quarterly directors meeting along the coast with all the directors. Start out as Tillamook all the way up to Astoria. And one of the guys said, we used to do a training for our guys during Public Works Week. And they'd all get together and do a training. Maybe it was flagger training, maybe it was forklift training, whatever. And he said, and we would grill and let the guys do, burgers together, whatnot, in the training. And he said, we need to get back to that,
Beautiful.
And it's hard to get all of our guys, in one spot in one day, but this may be a time that we say, okay, maybe it's the tour date. That's the date that people come and we do a tour of our different facilities. We can do a group in wastewater and a group in water,
Yeah, I would agree.
whatever,
But COVID kind of stopped everything.
I did,
And then now that we're kicking past it, it would be an excellent idea.
yeah.
I think tremendous.
So noodle that over and shoot me some ideas on what you'd like to see for that week. Because we're far enough out that we could get this scheduled if we do it now. And say, okay, during that week, here's the things that we're gonna do, But we do need lead time. Obviously, the guys have, days that they have to be in the lab, days that they gotta do their reads. And so there's a routine that we have to follow with our daily work. But if we're far enough in advance, we can plug tours in, So something to think about there. That's water resiliency. The other thing I wanted to update you on too is the bridge. So Civil West is continuing their assessment. Anytime you need geological support, any kind of real expertise, it takes lead time to get people here to the coast. So this isn't going to happen fast. I would think that probably by the end of the summer, I would expect that we would be zeroing in on a pretty good idea if that bridge can be retrofitted and or if we're going to have to do some sort of a consideration for rebuilding. And so I've invited Civil West to come to the Public Works Committee, talk to you guys about that project, put together a group that's going to include you and some community folks that we get input relative to if we had to build this bridge, what it would look like. And remember in the previous meetings, I've told you that I have shared with them the other communities where bridges have been built new that look like the old historical bridges. And so I said, I want to get in front of this so that if we end up saying it's got to be rebuilt, we're not there yet. We don't know. But if it is, I want them to have some sort of tentative plan in which direction we're going, because I don't want to be trying to make that decision when we get to that point.
Is he Ecolis?
This is the first Street Bridge. Mhm.
Which I would say over Ecolis.
And
Yes.
And what's the concern?
so the
What's the underlying
concern is that we know, and the city has done prior reviews of the bridge, but they never got enough money to be able to do a full seismic evaluation.
Okay,
They've taken some stabs at it. And they did some securing of the underlings of the bridge, meaning where the pilings connect to the bridge base. But it's nothing that would withstand a seismic event. So far, we have no documentation proving that. We have documentation of some of the evaluations that were done and some of the stabilizing. But I actually chased down the engineer that did that original evaluation and what the securing of those underlings, as he called it, involved. And he said, Karen, it really came down to money. The city had chased a grant that was over $1 million. They did not get it. And he said, if I remember correctly, your council awarded them just under $500,000 to do the best assessment they could and the repairs to strengthen it. But the actual seismic assessment never occurred.
Mm.
And I said, okay, so he gave me all the files, everything from where they were back at that point. We handed that to Civil West to say, don't reinvent the wheel. We don't want to pay again to do the same thing that's already been paid.
Right.
Pick up where this left off, assuming that assessment was effective based on today's standards and move forward. So that's their charter. And if the assessment is found that it has to be rebuilt, give us an idea of what that would have to look like based on where that bridge is located,
Mm.
and today's seismic requirements.
So primary
That
focus
is
is,
their scope.
primary focus is seismic, and not tsunami in addition, or is that just?
It's gonna be both. So if we had a seismic event, we know that there's gonna be a
Okay.
tsunami.
Okay,
And so I think they go hand in hand, especially for that location.
Right.
We actually gave them videos of when we had the king tides and how that came in really deep into that bridge area. They have pictures from when the flood occurred back in the 60s, I think.
that was the Alaskan earthquake.
Yeah.
Result, yeah.
And so they've got as much as we could throw at them and not have to reinvent the wheel. So again, we got a grant from FEMA that's $400 and some odd, just under $500,000, for them to complete the assessment and give us the recommendations based on that. So they want to do a communication to the community so that everybody knows where they are, get a group for input. If the bridge does have to be rebuilt, it's a strong chance that it will, but we're not going to make that assumption and spend any money moving in that direction till we know for sure. And so that will be coming your way. The last thing I want to talk to you about is during the last council meeting, there was a lot of discussion about the TAF money, tourism and arts dollars, and what that money can be spent on. They've got about $1 million sitting on the table. They are funding 100% of the Midtown remodel and expansion of the bathrooms. Thank goodness.
Mm.
So I thought that was
Yes.
awesome of them to, they wanted to do it, they offered the money and the council agreed, and that's the direction. The other thing that was brought up by council is that they would like to see more trail and arts projects. And we already have the orange bench that sits out in front of the bathroom. That will remain if we're able to add some other artistic element to that area. Despite it's small, there's always ways to incorporate art. We will certainly do it. But the thing that popped in my mind, and we've all talked about several times, and many community members have reached out to both Steve and I, is the interest of the Spruce Street walking trail through the Spruce Reserve. And they want to know why we're not moving forward on that. There was even a group that offered financial donation towards the kickoff of that project. The challenge we have is it's incorporated into the TSP, and council hasn't approved that to go forward. So I raised my hand and asked council, would they consider extrapolating that out of the TSP and allow us to go forward with that using some TSP funds? And
I think Amber has a question here. Amber, go ahead.
Oh, on that, I guess on that same note, Karen, of the trails and the TAF money and all of that, this comes back to something that I think we talked about when you had the recycling people come to our meeting. I'm wondering, it seems like, again, like the Midtown bathroom being covered that you just talked about, why we wouldn't have recycling bins, and those could be covered in art, or those could be decorated, like the actual structure themselves, the housing could be, designed by artists, or have tiles on the outside, or educational panels that are beautifully done by artists. And we could have recycling bins throughout town rather than just expecting our tourists who have no idea that we have a recycling center.
yeah, I like that idea, Amber, and I'd love to see you guys take that and do something with that so we could bring that back to the TAF group as consideration. What I would ask you guys to do is follow that all the way through to the end. Because it's, lots of people have mentioned putting a recycle bin next to our trash cans.
Mhm.
Here's the challenge you have to overcome with that idea that we have tried to find ways to figure out. You have to be able to control what goes into that bin, otherwise the bin becomes trash. And so I love the idea of decorating those. In my corporate years, we did that with our bee boxes that were just ugly, unsightly green metal pedestals that you see here in Cannon Beach for cable TV and whatnot. And in Hawaii, we had a beautification project, and we actually wrapped them in murals. And so if they were near vegetation, they were green, ferns and things like that. If they were near flowers, they were floral, and so on and so forth. So we had to customize that pedestal with whatever its surroundings were. We could do the same thing with the recycle. I like it, but follow that through to what the container would look like so that you can control what's being put in it. And we have to consider the cost associated with the pickup of that, because our porter service empties the trash, but they don't perform recycle duties. So we would have to get with Recology and find out what they would charge us to go point to point to point through town, gathering that, literally taking it to our recycle and or transporting it out of here. Because they come and transport the debris in our recycle facility. So that's an added cost. I want you guys just to be aware, we address one issue, but then we
That was my concern.
are adding costs at the back end.
Yes, and then if it, like you said, if somebody tosses garbage in there, automatically it becomes garbage, so.
But it's not off the table. I mean, I like it, but just, you're gonna have to, that's the hill you're gonna have to conquer in this idea. I kind of go back to the cardboard recycle containers that only allow you to slip it through a little crack, and so it's tough to get other stuff in there. Sometimes people do, they'll put bottles or plastic or things, but the majority of it is broken down pieces of cardboard. If you can find a container like that, you know, discourages other debris putting in, I think this is a bullseye. But that's the challenge.
Well, there's one other thing too, Chapman Cove. I walk my dog, so there's a little poop bag container, and I think a recycling. I'm not positive, but there is a garbage.
Yeah.
And maybe we can have the people that do the poop bag process to maybe pick up the recycling. I don't know.
Our people do the poop bag.
Oh, they do. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we own.
Public Works. Yeah, so
That helps a lot, though.
just understand that anything that you come up with, you have to have that back end of the process. And
Yes.
so you gotta factor in resource impact to public works and or cost impact to the porter service or recycle service that we currently pay for.
Yes.
And sometimes that's okay if it adds cost, if you can weigh the benefits of that cost and it makes sense financially. I'm all for it. I like that. We even talked about putting just a limited amount of containers. We also talked to some of the businesses downtown, key businesses that would be agreed to be a location spot where businesses could collectively join in and put their stuff in there and have the Recology come and pick it up. So it's on a limited basis that Recology would have extra stops, you know. Most businesses resisted it because they didn't have space at their business to put another container, even though they liked the idea, they just didn't have the space. So it's a great idea. It's a big challenge because of our, just the dynamics of our community. But I think that would be a great project for the Public Works Committee to take on and be able to give something that tourist group could put their dollars towards. And I think the trail is one, and I think Amber's idea is another really great one.
Yes. And then, you know, when we had that very, very good meeting with Recology,
right,
months back.
yes,
They did that and maybe just a little bit of an increase in the bill to increase that.
yeah.
I don't think anybody would really mind, $5 a month or something.
Yeah. Well, sometime back, Amber did mention plastics, and I think with the concerted effort we have with plastics, that's something that I'd like to see you guys explore.
Yeah.
Again, space constraints, we've talked about another bin out of the recycle that could be more plastics focused. And a way to work with Recology to be able to dispose of that properly. The group from both the universities that we're working on right now that are doing the plastics study, and they got federal funding to do it. They're working with my wastewater team and my roads team to put filters in a couple of our catch basins, see what comes off of runoff from the streets. And then also out at wastewater of what's coming through our fine screens. But there's going to be another level of this that they add where our community gets filters to put in the hoses behind our washing machines and dryers so that it keeps plastics from, going into the system, if you will. And they're going to expand that to the hospitality industry. And so they've asked the feds to add more funding so they can go after the hospitality as well as just the Joe Blow resident. And those filters will be given out to us for free. So they're putting together a communications plan that I can update council as to where we are with this study. Some of it is weather driven, like our storm drains. They come out and actually do a check of these as well as my guys are checking them as we have episodes of rain. And then we have a dry spell. So we're doing studies or we're doing tests. They bring us the containers and we're doing testing in both of those environments of dry and wet weather. And so I see that expanding in some way. I'm not sure how yet until we see kind of the results of some of these studies. But there's going to be more and more effort towards plastics. So I think it'd be good for Public Works to take a look at some way we can support that effort beyond just what we're doing on the beaches, which is fantastic, but we've got to expand that and kind of get to the source of how that stuff ends out there to begin with,
And it sort of like goes with their Recology's mission statement is no landfill.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think they would be on board
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
And it would be a great project.
Yeah, we've had really good luck with, there was last year and the year before, there was quite a bit of change in leadership in Recology because the director retired, the executive director. And there were some promotions and movement and all that. We just have a fantastic team in place right now.
Yes.
And so they are an employee-owned business. They've gone through their own struggles as they recovered from COVID and whatnot. But I think the current team we have now is one of the strongest we've had in a while. Very responsive,
Very impressive.
very open, so.
I have a couple of thoughts on the recycle. I think that we ought to start with one or two stations and a couple of different ideas about those stations. At the airport, they have the round for just the plastic and the aluminum cans.
Yes.
Problem is people put glass in there too, but I think we start with one or two stations, a couple of different ideas on those, then we'll get an idea of how likely tourists are to recycle.
Yeah,
If we can keep things out. The other thing is the current people who pick up the garbage, maybe they could also pick up the recycling and drop it off at the recycle center. I think using a different color plastic bag for the recycled containers would identify those as recyclable, and they can just take those, drop those off. And then it wouldn't be mixed with the regular trash.
right.
My experience with, some of the tourists working in the short-term rental industry for the last couple of years, tourists, most of them, well, all but one of the short-term rental properties that I managed in Cannon Beach until recently, I had 60 of them, had recycled containers. But more frequently than not, I would have to get in there, waist deep and dig out all the stuff that wasn't recyclable.
Yep.
And, Recology doesn't pick it up. they refuse to pick up a recycle container if it's contaminated, so it's up to the property manager or the owner to go in there and
Manage it.
everything that's a contaminant, put it in the regular garbage so that that recycled stuff can be picked up. But more often than not, there is contaminants in the
Yep.
recycling. Tourists are on vacation and sometimes they don't want to be bothered. I'm not trying to be cynical, but the fact is, they don't pick it apart, and everybody's from a different part of the country where the rules are different. Some of them have number one plastic, some of them have styrofoam that recycles,
Some of them have no recycling at all.
I just, that's not just,
That has-
that's not just vacationers, that's
Yeah.
people in general.
Yeah, it's just like you ask a person renting a car, you wash it?
But the
No.
rules are different from everywhere that everybody
Right,
comes from.
right.
Yeah,
And so those rules mean that our
Yeah.
recycle stream may be contaminated with what they think are recyclable items.
true.
So they're not doing it intentionally all the time, but following our rule, we need to have them follow our rules and we need to get that idea across to them. And I think with these one or two stations that we start with initially, maybe we ought to just focus on, let's get the aluminum cans and the plastic bottles that are recyclable.
Yeah.
Get those in there because, you know, we can recycle cardboard and paper, all that kind of stuff, other things. But if we focus on a couple of items that are really the higher priority recyclables,
Yeah,
that the ones that take a lot of energy to produce from the
Right.
scratch
Right.
and recycle those, then I think that's a win.
Yeah.
Plus, if we can limit it to those two items, as an experiment first,
Yeah.
then we have an idea of whether or not that's gonna work and, if we can restrict that.
Good idea. Steve, Amber, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that the piece is like, I would encourage us to veer away from the idea that because everyone, different people are gonna make mistakes, that would be a reason why we wouldn't do it. Like, I think that that's kind of I would want us to steer away from that sort of logic, because I think the better good is the fact that, our recycling along the coast, Recology, I think that they're going to continue to improve how they handle the growing need of Recology. And I've seen it in many other cities and towns, how that has adapted over the years, like what they allowed, what they now allow. And so I think that that's where the tourist dollars come in, is that we do educational signage that's beautiful and pretty, that educates. And that's the whole reason why I brought it up, was because if you educate and you say, okay, this is what we need to do. And granted, there's going to be people that don't read. So that's where the artistry comes in, is to illustrate what the behavior you want. Right. And I think most people, when given the opportunity, I mean, I can't tell you how many tourists I get asked during the summer, like if I'm on my bike and I'm at the post office and they're holding, all of these things that they've just gotten out of Mariners Market, bottles and cans and things. They're like, where do we go for recycling? And it's like, oh, we have a recycling center. You have to go down, 2nd Street. Like they're looking, people are asking. And that's why I originally brought it up, whenever that was, a year or two ago. And so I think that it's like, that's the job of the artistry, is to make sure that it's easy for people to follow the rules. It's easy for people to understand what goes in. You're going to have some people that don't. Absolutely. That's the case. But I think you're going to capture more than you don't, is my point, which makes it worthwhile.
No, you're correct, right? And what Steve was saying, he was just letting us know how it works, and I totally agree with him. But his idea is, let's try it, give it a try.
Sure.
Locations, which I think it's a great, excellent idea.
Minimize.
So, just.
And I like the hole, the little hole there, because you
Correct.
can't
So
put.
I think pictures go a long way and
Right,
the art.
let's have a committee,
Yeah.
why don't we set up a committee
Sure.
that wants to work with Amber? To make sure that, we get, not only the educational part, but we can just talk to some artists and maybe they can,
Great idea.
give us
ideas.
suggestions.
Super.
So let's do that, and,
So FYI, if you guys remember when Recology came and talked to council and to us, they brought out those great flyers.
right?
And
Yeah,
had
still have it.
Have to
They had like 8x10s, they had 5x7s.
And they.
We put them up in the front lobby where people could take them. And it was really well done graphics on the easiest way to recycle and make sure that it doesn't end up in the trash. It ends up in a recycle. And that it included rinsing out your container. Lots of people don't realize that
Oh, I
you
do.
last of the milk and they throw it in the plastic, recycle. It doesn't get recycled because the milk sours and they can't recycle it. So there's very strict rules now in China, which is taking the majority of the recyclables on a purge, how that has to look. And Recology had told us several years back that if they fail to meet any of that in a huge bundle of recyclables, they do site inspections. If they see anything, they refuse the entire bundle. They can't even break it apart and redo it. They just simply won't take it. So they said they have really had to tighten their process so that so much of this stuff doesn't end up back in the trash. So take advantage of those graphics. They're on their website every year when Recycle sends out the residential newsletter and kind of giving you the schedule of things that they have going on, changes, it's all in there. It's a really quick and easy how to be a good recycler, where to dispose of paint,
Yes.
batteries, computers. I mean,
Yeah.
their publication is well done.
And I think it's a good idea to reach out to them and not start reinventing the wheel, because then,
Yeah.
you want to be efficient and you want, you
Yes.
want to make sure. Artists, yes, you can reach out to, but I mean, start with, recall.
When you get your task team put together, if you want me to invite them and have them as an agenda item so that you can run some things past them before you get too far ahead, I can do that. You just let me know. But I think it's a great project that you might consider. And again, the trail project, pull that together and be able to, as a committee, take that to these groups that kind of control those decisions.
Yep.
I think they'd be great, worthwhile projects.
So Amber, I'm assuming you will be heading this committee.
Recycling.
All right.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I just want to say, it seems to me like the win here would be, if there is a win, is obviously to increase the amount of recycling.
Yep.
But to me, most importantly, minimize the amount of non-compliant items that are put in the recycling, because it all sounds really good, but you have to factor in the cost and the burden and the who's and the whats of how you're going to handle
Yes.
non-compliant items, because
Yes.
nobody's going to want to do it, but it has to be done. So whether that's starting slow type approach to, bottles and cans, or if you can come up with something structurally container wise, that would be great. But I think that's going to be the elephant in the room, is it just happens for whatever reason. And then somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do the dirty work.
We can create cost in our budget for the extra handling of this, but at the end of the day, like you say, if it's not done properly, by the time it hits Recology,
Right.
it's right back in the trash. And so that's the hill that I say you've got to conquer.
Right.
And I appreciate you recognizing.
That's
To Amber's comments, Amber, don't misconstrue anything that I said being negative on recycling. I'm not at all. In fact, I'm 100% been recycled for years, with everything I possibly can. From, what I buy to then the end result of having it recycled.
Yep.
But we can't go through and, sort anything out of the recycling that's a contaminant. There are sharps in there, and if bottles get in there and they're broken, there becomes another sharp. There also could be some, dog waste in there that people will put in there. So I think your point of educating people is exactly right. We just have to educate and make sure that when we are educating, doing it for, the best way possible.
Success in the
Your
end.
Ideas of artwork, pictures, and for even people who don't speak English that come by.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
We have to recycle, in my opinion, it's very, very important to recycle everything that we possibly can.
Oh, yeah, and then we could have the X, no, don't do this. I was amazed when I found out that these little clam things, the little plastic things are not recyclable.
used to be, but China doesn't take them anymore.
Right, and I went, wow, oh, so I now put them in the trash.
Yeah.
I used to put them in recycle because they were plastic and they clean.
When we talk recycle, I always say, I'd like to see us kind of get to the root of the cause, you know, and on a larger scale, when we had the call with the feds, I asked them what they were doing to pursue the big box stores that surround everything in plastic. I mean, you almost injure yourself trying to get your product out of the casing, right? And that it, you know, to me, it kind of starts there. And the Recology folks told me there is a huge effort underway to do exactly that. And that there is a date that they're mandated to make revisions in some of these things. And next layer to me is the restaurants that provide things to go, exactly what you're saying. So to me, I like to get to the root cause. That's how this stuff is ending up out on our beaches. So let's get to the root cause before we're just chasing the tail end, right?
Yes,
Big
So,
disconnect.
When you guys go through this,
And the recycling, because they're not required, like you said, to manufacture things that are at the end of their life recyclable.
Go ahead, Amber.
I was going to say, I mean, Recology deals with this, you know, every week when they come and they pick up our bins. Like, I'm certain that a lot of the bins that they pick up are from vacation rentals. And just like you're saying, I mean, I think that Recology deals with this with every single town, every single customer in every single neighborhood. They deal with contaminants all the time. So
And what happens to those contaminants is they go right to the dump, though. If it's contaminated, they don't even mess with it. It is against the rules for anybody that works at any sorting facility to go in and grab anything from a contaminated container. And that also goes for the people that work at the dump. They cannot retrieve anything that's recyclable.
Yep.
For safety reasons.
that's correct.
Mm.
So, okay, Glenn, let's go ahead and move on.
You guys have your work cut out for you on that.
So that's, so
yeah, we can make it better.
whoever wants to be in this committee, please reach out to Amber and maybe report to us next month.
Okay.
Okay.
Continuous improvement.
Thank you.
And it would be helpful for you guys. I'll get you some contacts at Recology that you can talk to and bounce some of these things off of, get copies of their
Yeah.
graphics and things, permission to use those. I know they will be more than
Yes.
willing to help you guys.
Yes, it will be very excited to work with you.
Oh, yes.
All right.
All right, anything else on Public Works?
I don't think so. Anything else you want to toss? I've talked to him about the water resiliency. I talked to him about a recycling project. I talked to him about the trail and the TSP.
I'll save mine for go to the order.
We got the tree planting going on
That's-
this afternoon, at 1
p.m.
o'clock.
That's
So-
what I was gonna say, 1 p.m., very south end of town,
That's for-
Cannon used to be.
Mhm.
Come on down.
So did we solve our big water leak that we were looking? Yeah.
Finally.
Okay, that's exactly.
Wow.
That was it.
I was on vacation when I heard that.
That's it. When I heard that, I said, we got it done.
Yeah.
This is
Done.
fixed.
Yeah.
So, good job, team.
And it has been reported to the state because, you know, the state we had to do that extra
Yes.
report because now we're outside of our 10% they allow us. And the guy that does the report for us was so excited. I said, Tim, this was like the silver lining of
Oh, absolutely.
the dark cloud of us having to go into a boil water status for the
It was
first time
amazing.
ever.
Yes.
And,
I walked by it because
yeah,
I
he
knew
was thrilled.
knew it in my heart and I was like, it's gotta be in.
I saw it on vacation. I went, wow.
It finally made,
You don't know what you're talking about. I was like. see,
yeah, you're right.
it's-
It finally made the sense of to why it stayed hidden.
Yes.
Because our leak detection companies, we had two separate leak detection companies come in trying to help us find this. Well, the device they use is a listening device. This leak was right by the creek.
Yeah.
And so how do you decipher the creek from a leak?
Yes.
And so that's why it stayed hidden for so long.
Yeah.
So kudos to the team.
It was like a blessing that this thing,
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You know,
people don't want to hear that.
I'm on vac.
And it blew a date that we weren't having rain and
Right.
weather because
Yeah.
that's happened so many times and you can't decipher visually.
Yes. And I was on vacation. I thought, it's like the FBI. We found the fugitive.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I mean, Trevor was out in the field.
Tracked them down.
We were tag team. He's out in the field. Okay, go up here and look. This pipe is down this ravine on Ecola Park Road. We wouldn't see it if it was busted. You know, we couldn't visually see it. go here, go there. And he's tag teaming. Nope, it's not it. I'm out here, I'm standing here. Nope. And I'm zeroing in the map. Got smaller. So I said, it's gotta be somewhere where there's water. You just can't, yeah. It was crazy. It was like the big mystery hunt.
Yes.
You know?
It
Yeah,
was pretty
very good.
incredible.
You know, the first person I wanted to call was Jan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, you look happy.
Daryl and Daniel, if you see Jan, tell her we found the leak.
So, it's pretty amazing. Good job, team.
Yeah, great.
It was a relief.
It's incredible.
So I'm really anxious to see our numbers now over the next 30 days
Mm.
to see how they look. That's gotta
Pretty
be,
much perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
So-
I know the guys were totally relieved. I mean, it was
So-
frustrating for them that they weren't able to find it. It's like being, 8 months and 3 weeks pregnant and everybody's out, you had the baby yet? Shut up. You found that leak yet? We're trying.
A short fuse here. No, shut up.
Yeah, sorry for the analogy, but that's really the
No,
closest I could get.
Pretty amazing. Yeah, good job.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to good of the order. Trees 1 PM where?
At the very south end of town where the cannon used to be.
Mhm.
So please come.
1 o'clock.
You can't miss us.
Okay, we can't.
Okay, it's great.
Boots and bring your shovel.
All right.
Kidding.
That's one thing. We are talking about adding a flagger class for anybody that wants to join in the next month or so. So if you want some information, please contact me. Cert, if you want some more information, please contact me.
Okay.
All right, that's all I have.
One more item. As all you guys know, or probably have heard, UPS Dave retired.
Yes.
A party is being organized from the whole community today. It's June 22nd. It's gonna start with a concert in the park, and for any of you that don't know, Dave is a mad guitarist. He sings and he plays guitar, and I mean, he is crazy good. So the rumor has it that he might end up on stage. So, concert in the park and then a buffet dinner immediately following at the Legion. They have allowed us to use the facility for the whole community to come, and Dave is very excited. So we're putting the team together to help with all that and the details of it, but mark your calendar, Saturday, June 22nd. Concert in the park, 4 to 6. Buffet dinner immediately following at the Legion. So,
My dog sure misses Dave.
oh man, I hear that from everybody. They're like, my dog is really sad. The truck pulls up and the dog's like, that's not Dave.
No, agreed. Very good.
The guy that tried to follow him because I've heard it 1,000 times a day.
Yeah, the new guy's name is Jeremy, by the way, and he is actually very nice.
Jeremy, okay.
His name is Jeremy,
I
and
haven't met him yet.
he is a nice guy, and he totally,
Gets it.
gets it, that.
He's got some big shoes to fill.
No, yes, exactly, and he totally understands, so he will try to get out.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
I got one other thing. This Saturday between 11 and 1 is the
Yes.
Earth Day Street Fair.
Yes.
Second Street in between Spruce and Hemlock.
Thank you, we have
So
Sol
please
Yes.
come
up, and we also
Yes.
have.
down and check it out. It's a pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yes.
Cash sites are also opening for if you guys have anything stored in the cash sites are. opening from
Right.
11 to 1, and then beach cleanup is from 10 to 1, so.
And I will be at the cash site this Saturday.
Yes.
Okay,
Which one?
the Oscar, and I'm gonna bring a bag of popcorn in honor of Dr. Bob.
I love
Right.
it.
Always bought his little popcorn.
I could have used him during the water line break, be out there on the horse, letting everybody know what was going on.
Absolutely.
He was my town crier whenever we'd have an event.
He's missed for a lot of reasons. He's, he was a limited edition.
Yeah.
They don't come around like
All
that.
right.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you very much.
You have your good meeting.
Thank you. Very good meeting.
Thanks, Amber.